Pace car coming in this time. It's going to be Philip Scott and Skylar Johnson leading the field to the green. It's the first Sunoco Elite Series visit to a short track in almost 5 seasons, and an inaugural visit to Richmond Raceway. 100 laps is the race distance, and we're underway. Scott with a very good jump into turns 1 and 2. Oh, Johnson struggling a little bit with that high line. He gets shoved up 3 wide. A little bit of contact there with the number 34, but Scott leads him down into turns 3 and 4. And Gerard Oren pushing hard in the number 91 Toyota on the bottom of the track. They've gapped the rest of the field, who are battling very hard behind them, but it's going to be Oren taking the lead on lap number 2. Alex Benyako making some big moves in the early going. Oh, we've got a near spin back behind them, but battling really hard with Aiden Shepard and Julio Caesar. What a great start for this rookie in just his second Sunoco Elite Series start, I believe. Carson Bauer is stuck in a tough situation, gets shoved up the racetrack by Ray Hall there, an over-aggressive move in the opening laps, but gets into Duncan as a result. In the number 4 machine there, somehow saves the car. The number 6 into the wall, and 5th of 58 of Jack Halleck got a small piece of it, but man, that could have been so much worse. We stay green somehow, hopefully not too much damage on either of the cars involved, as it looks like we had another close call. Vance Caldwell chucks it into turns 1 and 2, gets into Skylar Johnson, and another miraculous save there. My God, they came so close to the inside wall there, but they stacked up nearly 5 wide in turns 1 and 2, and somehow they kept it going. This is really miraculous at this point, but what a rough start, especially for Skylar Johnson, now mired back behind 20th place. What a gaggle into turns 3 and 4 as the 86 shoves Roush up the track nearly into Julio Caesar and Alex Benyako, and no one is giving an inch. Still down into turns 1 and 2. Alex Benyako still pushed up there 4 wide. Him and Julio Caesar make some contact. They didn't really have a whole lot of room to work with. Benyako into the wall. Luckily there was no one immediately behind them, so Benyako was able to get that car recovered. But my God, maybe just get it down into 2 and 3 wide racing, guys, so we can keep this thing going clean and green. 40 Arby's machine, tries to slip up in front of the Quicken Loans machine there, but isn't able to do so. Very good racing all over this track as Skylar Johnson continues to move backwards. Philip Scott now trying to get that lead back up the inside of the number 91. He's got the optimal line down into turns 1 and 2, and he will easily snap that lead away. Just has the shorter distance to cover, and generally at Richmond, it's the inside that paves the way. It's far from over though. Just 1 lap later, here comes Oren again, and this battling has brought a couple new challengers up into the mix. That's Dak Jovic in the Best Buy machine coming up the inside, trying to follow Oren through, and the 10 of Paul Jackson falls into line. Might just be trying to keep things safe in the early going here. The 60 challenging up the inside now of Oren. Looks like he's going to get it done. Jackson's up from outside the top 10 actually on the start. That's very impressive from the Peak Honda there down on the inside. He's going to take away a podium spot from Oren. As we approach lap 10, things beginning to space out just a little bit within the top 10. Still got some side-by-side racing, but back behind them, yeah, not so much. You got Scott Roush leading alongside Alexander Rowe in front of this big gaggle of cars. DJ Curtis trying to snake his way up the inside. Oh, nearly tosses it up the inside of Roush there. And that is Thompson in the yellow and blue Wrangler machine right behind them. Jovic with nearly a half-second lead, but chokes it away there through 3 and 4. Paul Jackson challenging up the inside. He got high up the racetrack, maybe into the marbles a little bit, and that was all it took. It lost all its momentum on corner exit, and the 10 of Jackson to the race lead. Eric Monaco now in the picture. He's up the inside at Jovic off of turn number 4, and the last time around, catching these top 2, he set the fastest lap of the race. He's got Jovic through turns 1 and 2. Paul Jackson not quite able to hold the bottom as much as he did earlier on, and that might be where Eric Monaco takes advantage. There it is, the Taxac machine to the front of the field, and as tire wear diminishes, it appears that Monaco might have the best car. Paul Jackson has tried a couple of times to take that lead back from the 14, but every time he gets to the inside, it's Monaco who can carry so much more speed into the corners, and if the 10 isn't careful, he's going to use up his stuff, and the 14 might pull away yet further. A bit further back in the field, Lorenz Alog struggling with the handling of his race car a little bit, lost a position to Pericles and Halleck there. Oh, Bowers nearly into Duncan, and Duncan washed up the track into Vance Caldwell there. Good on Duncan to slow that car down and make sure that they avoided an incident there, but that was very close racing back for around 28th spot. The top 2 or 3 drivers have pulled away, but the barrier for top 5 entry is quite interesting right now. The 80 of Philip Scott holding everyone off for the 4th position. That was Fitzwater Sr. taking 5th away from John Arndt just a moment ago, and Windhelm in the 51 looks to be making a charge for it in the not too distant future. Taking a look at the bottom 5 on track, you've got Skyla Johnson in 34th position after starting from outside pole. What a rough go it's been for her in the opening few laps. Ryan Griffin has slapped the wall a couple of times. He's learning in his rookie season in trial by fire format, it looks like. Roger Ray sitting just behind these 2 drivers, and behind him is William Duncan, who seems to be struggling with the handling of his race car a few laps ago, getting into Vance Caldwell, as you saw. And bringing up the rear is William Carlson Jr. in the number 28. All 38 drivers still on track. The leaders are going to be catching these guys sooner than later. Eric Monaco has pulled out a nearly 2-second gap over his nearest rival, Paul Jackson. That 14 machine looks to be on rails here in the first stint of the race. We might be seeing pit stops come up soon. Drivers are nearly a second off the pace of their former selves, and it's becoming harder and harder to make passes. A majority of the drivers in the field are single file right now. Lorenz Alog cuts a tire through turns 3 and 4, gets that car safely down to the inside line. Good job by him. He's got it in the grass down the front straightaway. Good heads-up driving by Nick Pericles as well to get on the brakes hard enough and not swerve into the traffic around him. Lorenz Alog going to have to go all the way around the track again. This will ruin his race. He just barely missed pit entry the last time by, and we saw him struggling for grip earlier on in the race. Maybe this is the natural progression of that. Eric Monaco all over the lap traffic and having a rough go of it, to be honest. They're not giving him a whole lot of room. They're racing too wide in front of him. Johnson and Griffin going at it. Bowers racing his own race, trying to get by Ryan Griffin as well, and Monaco smartly decides this is a good time to make his pit stop. Comes in at the end of lap number 54, and he lost a good chunk of the lead he had over Paul Jackson, dealing with some of that lap traffic, and we're going to see more and more of that if the race continues to stay green in the later stages. With all of the leaders down the pit lane, Pensacola winner Jeffrey Finguy would stay out and lead a couple of laps. He was 8th coming into the pit cycle. However, he would be behind 30th on pit exit as a result of a disastrous pit box exit. He stalled the car out after they dropped the jack, and it would take nearly 30 seconds to get that car refired and back out onto the pit lane. So Jeffrey Finguy, big disappointment for him after a big win last time out. Roger Ray would unexpectedly find himself in a 3-wide battle as Vance Caldwell merges out of the pit lane and Windhelm dives up the inside, and the 08 cannot hold it on the top side of the track. He's had a rough go of it today, and that's not going to make things any better. Aiden Shepard running down Sean Angel for a top 10 spot. You see Benoit Lefebvre-Irvine just coming out of the pits now. He came in rather late, and kind of similar to Jeffrey Finguy, had an issue on pit road that cost him a couple of laps. I think with the 7 team, it was a jack issue. But in any case, Benoit Lefebvre-Irvine now mired outside the top 30. Shepard started the race in the front couple of rows, but fell through the field a little bit towards the pit stop cycle. But now that he's got fresh rubber, it's easier to pass, and he's looking to take advantage of that and get into the top 10. Sean Angel has been struggling a little bit. He's been inside the top 10, but he doesn't seem to have the pace of those in front of him. Nonetheless, anything will be better for Angel than what happened last time out when he finished in the mid-30s at Pensacola. Eric Monaco doesn't seem to have as strong of a car as he did before the pit cycle. Nick Pericles, who's a lap down, has been able to catch the number 14 and appears to be trying to get his lap back, and this could give Paul Jackson an opportunity. He's closed right in on the number 98 and the 14, and another slip up there by Eric Monaco. Not able to keep that even remotely close to the bottom of the racetrack is going to allow Paul Jackson to get by for the race lead. He's way off the racing line again. The Tax Act machine, I'm not sure whether that team did a faulty adjustment to that car or what's gone wrong for him, or whether or not it's just been the competition that's improved with the last cycle. But in any case, he's going to have to buckle down and get moving to try and recatch the Paul Jackson in the number 10. Not having a whole lot of patience with the Hardee's machine as he drives on by the number 32. But Paul Jackson already pulling away. Eric Monaco has some work to do. In third place is Windhelm, who's about 5 lap cars behind the top 2 right now, but is dealing with them about as well as you could possibly be expected to. Just got about 3 or 4 of them in the last half lap or so. Slipping by Ryan Griffin on the inside, holding that inside line very well, and the drivers around him being fairly patient. They're having their own race, but Windhelm taking advantage anywhere he sees fit. It's been a busy day for Cordell Paulson. Started in the 36th position, and if he can get by Zachary Fitzwater Sr. here, he's going to be in 7th place. An incredible drive. Truly remarkable when you think that this entire race has been run under green flag conditions, and we're at a short track, not a super speedway, not a big oval like Michigan. This is Richmond, and that Quicken Loans machine is posting some of the fastest laps on the racetrack. He's even faster than race leader Paul Jackson, but he's still 8 seconds behind him. We'll have to see where that car will end up after another 20 to 25 laps to finish this one. Paul Jackson has quickly extended his advantage over Eric Monaco. Still struggling with the handling of that race car. He can't seem to put it where he wants it, and as a result he's struggling with lap traffic, and if anything, they're unlapping rather than him doing the lapping. And that's allowed Windhelm to close in for that second spot. Monaco's going to be on the defense for the remaining 17 or so laps of this race, but the Clever Haas racing team in general is going to have to sit down and see what happened in this one, with Monaco fading in the late stages, Duncan all over the place pretty much the entire race, and Jeffrey Finguy's botched pit stop. They've got a lot to consider moving on in Season 6. Benoit Lethaire-Irvine on pit road now. They've had an electrical issue with that car as it slowly ground to a halt. Managed to get it down the pit lane just in time, but he will lose several more laps. He'd eventually go back out onto the track, but around 8 or 9 laps down, so a bad day gets even worse for the 7 team. A right front tire blowout for Max Anderson. He was running 11th. That's got to be gut-wrenching for that team. They were looking at the possibility of a top 10 run, and it all unravels in the late stages. He nearly got into the pit wall there, actually, as he struggled for grip on that non-existent right front tire. They're going to make that quick fix, get him back out there, but he's going to be a couple laps down, and that's going to ruin that team's day. Alex Benyako pulling down pit road from 31st spot. He reported to his team that he felt a tire going down, and they're going to change it just as a precaution. He wasn't exactly looking at a great points finish anyways, so might as well make the switch and avoid an accident. Alex Benyako going to continue to learn the ropes here in his rookie campaign in the Sunoco Elite Series. One of the closest battles on track right now is between Paulson and Jovic, as Paulson has taken a top 5 spot away from Jovic, but Jovic wants it back. Just around 3 or 4 laps to go, and Jovic will take that position right on back from Paulson, but Paulson challenging up the inside. Ooh, near contact there between the two of them. But yet again, want to highlight the incredible run that Paulson has had today, proving that top 5 is always possible. Eric Monaco still holding on to that second spot. He and Windhelm have traded it a couple of times in the closing laps. With just 2 laps to go, they've just hit a big gaggle of lap traffic just to make things nice and spicy as we come down to the line. White flag in the air, and it looks like Eric Monaco might be able to hold off Windhelm for second place. Heading the field through turns 3 and 4, though, will be Paul Jackson, winning by over 7 seconds in the first short track race for the Sunoco Elite Series in almost 5 seasons. What a dominant performance it was for Jackson, taking the lead around lap 60 and carrying it to the victory, never making any mistakes, slicing and dicing his way through the lap traffic to open up a serious advantage over the rest of the field, lapping a good portion of the field in the process. Eric Monaco put on a heck of a defensive effort there in the final laps to hold on to second place by just over 1/10 of a second over Hans Windhelm. Philip Scott started on pole but didn't quite have enough to challenge for the win today. He'll still get a solid 4th place effort. Paulson, what a day. 5th place, up 31 spots, and with the fastest lap of the race, even faster than race winner Paul Jackson. Jovic, 6th place for him, couldn't quite hold off Paulson there in the end. John Arndt in the Zaxby's Chicken Machine comes home 7th. DJ Curtis, solid effort in 8th place. Aiden Shepard charged to 9th, and Oren rounds out the top 10. With a 2nd place at Pensacola and a win here today, Paul Jackson's going to be the one that everyone's trying to catch in the early stages of this season. He's got a firm 22-point advantage over Eric Monaco. Aiden Shepard sitting 3rd in points right now. He's had a great start to the year. John Arndt and Scott Roush have had pretty good ones as well. They're sitting 4th and 5th. Then it's Jovic, Curtis, Jeffrey Fingai still sits 8th despite his bad run today due to his win at Pensacola. Skyla Johnson sits 9th, and William Brock rounds out the top 10. There's still a number of drivers that don't have any points at all, including Max Anderson, Bowers, and Julio Caesar. Next time out, it's back to one of the big ovals as the stars and cars of the Sunoco Elite Series will roll into the Irish Hills of Michigan for a race at Michigan International Speedway, the unblemished 2-mile D-shaped oval that featured one of the best races in Sunoco Elite Series history last year and the closest in history overall.